Right, before we get into the predictions, answer me this. 5 managers have been sacked so far this season, so is that it for the sackings, or are there more to come? Let us know in the comments. I kind of just want to see how many people are going to say Big Ange is next. Anyway, I'm Matt. Welcome to the Footie Social Club Game Week 22 Premier League predictions. First up, we have Newcastle versus Bournemouth. The Magpies are now on a very impressive 9-game winning streak across all competitions, and 6 of those wins have come in the Premier League. Not only that, they've also won their last 3 at home, scoring 10 and conceding nothing. Last time out, they beat Wolves 3-0, 2 of those goals courtesy of Isaac, who sits 3rd in the Premier League scoring charts, just behind Salah and Haaland on 15. And I reckon he's got to be in with a chance of finding a net this weekend. Now, Bournemouth, they are also in a very impressive run of form. They are unbeaten in the last 10 in all competitions. Perhaps more importantly to this fixture, they are unbeaten in their last 5 on the road, winning 3 and drawing 2, including that 2-2 draw against Chelsea last time out. Over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. Fairly strong probabilities in this one with 63% and 74% respectively. Last time these two met at the Vitality, it was 1-1. The time before that, it was 2-2, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen here. I predict a 2-2 at St James's Park. Next up, we have Brentford versus Liverpool. So Brentford go from smashing Southampton 5-0 to losing to Plymouth 1-0 in the FA Cup, and I know they rested players, to drawing with an underperforming City side last time out. Now in the league, they've won just 1 of their last 6, losing 3 and picking up 2 draws. So what's going to happen when they welcome the league leaders to the G-Tech this weekend? I mean, when you look at it, Liverpool are technically in the worst run of form for them this season. And by that, I mean they've only managed 1 win across their last 4 games in all competitions. And that win was against Accrington Stanley. In the league, they've had back-to-back draws across the last 2 against Man United and last time out against Nottingham Forest. The last time they had 2 back-to-back draws, they went on to win the next 3 games, scoring 14 goals in the process. Over 2.5 goals and both teams to score are very strong probabilities in this one. In a reverse fixture earlier on in the season, Liverpool won 2-0. In fact, Liverpool have won 4 of the last meetings. And I think they're going to make it 5 on the trot, but I don't reckon it's going to be easy. I predict a 2-1 win to Liverpool. Next up, we have Leicester versus Fulham. What looked like a promising start for Ruud van Nistelrooy as Leicester manager has turned into an absolute nightmare. Across his first 8 league games in charge, he won the first one, drew the second one, and has subsequently lost the last 6, including that 2-0 defeat at home to Palace midweek. That means that over the last 6, they have scored just 2, but conceded a massive 16. So realistically, can they pick up any points as they welcome Fulham to the King Power this weekend? The Cottagers were on a 9-game unbeaten streak until they met Graham Potter's West Ham midweek and lost 3-2. That does mean that while they were unbeaten, they had also only picked up 1 win in their last 7. I mean, they have only lost once as well. They just love to draw. Talking of draws, they don't tend to happen in this matchup. Over the last 6 games, Fulham have won 4, the Foxes have won 2, and you'd have to go back to the 7th game to find a draw, which was 1-1. In this weekend's matchup, the probabilities suggest we will see over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. Now, considering Fulham usually do concede at least a goal, I can see Leicester nicking something, but I think Fulham will score more. I predict a 3-1 win to Fulham. Next up, we have West Ham versus Crystal Palace. Graham Potter picked up his first win in his 2nd game in charge when they beat Fulham 3-2 last time out. That win came off the back of 3 successive defeats and managed to break a string of 6 games where the Hammers had failed to score 1 or more. So how will they fare when the Eagles head to the London Stadium? Palace are unbeaten in their last 5 in all competitions and have managed to win 2 and draw 2 in their last 4 league games, including that 2-0 win over Leicester last time out. Now, away from home, they haven't lost in the league since that 1-0 defeat to Forest back in October. In fact, based on form alone, over the last 5, they would sit 8th in the league. So the question is, are Palace in line to finish this season as strongly as they did last season? Now, when these two met each other earlier on in the campaign, West Ham ran out 2-0 winners. However, Palace do have the slight upper hand over the last 5 head-to-heads, winning 3, drawing once and losing once. This is another game where the probabilities suggest over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. Now, having a new manager always makes things a little bit more difficult to predict. However, I think this has got draw written all over it. I'm predicting a 2-2. Next up, we have Arsenal versus Villa. Arsenal painted North North London Reds on Wednesday night when they beat Spurs 2-1. That result solidified their unbeaten home run in the league, meaning they've won 7 and drawn 3, and they remain the last team to be unbeaten at home this season. Talking of unbeaten, they also haven't lost in their last 11 league games, so can they make that 12 as they welcome the Villains to the Emirates this weekend? Well, Villa did manage to scrape past David Moyes' Everton 1-0 last time out, and that put an end to their 5-game losing streak away from home. Since November, Villa have played 6 games away from home in the league, and in that time have only managed to find the back of the net 3 times. And they've not scored more than 1 in any of those games, which lends itself to why the probabilities of over 2.5 goals and both teams to score are so low in this one. Going back over the last 5 head-to-heads, Villa have won 2 and Arsenal have won 3, including that 2-0 victory last time out. Now, the stats suggest that history could repeat itself here. However, I think Villa are going to get a goal. I predict a 2-1 win to the Gunners. Next up, we have Everton versus Spurs. So, as is usually the case, when a club gets a new owner, a new manager tends to follow shortly thereafter. Enter or re-enter David Moyes. Now, under Dyche, it looked like the aim was just pure Premier League survival. However, with Moyes, I'm assuming they're going to want him to climb a little bit further up the table, which might prove quite difficult. They're sat in 16th, 7 points off 15th place. The Toffees are winless in their last 6, drawing 3 and losing their last 3, including that 1-0 to 7th place Villa last time out. This weekend, however, they're playing a team a little bit closer to them in the league, and that team is Spurs. They sit 14th in the table. They've lost 4 of their last 5 in the Premier League, including that 2-1 defeat to Arsenal last time out. Away from home, they've lost 6 of their 10 games, winning 3 and drawing 1. Everton don't have much luck in this particular head-to-head. They lost 4-0 out earlier on in the season, and in fact they haven't beaten Spurs in the last 9 head-to-heads. Across those 9 head-to-heads though, we have had 4 draws, and probabilities seem to suggest we might get something similar here. Now, I'm a little bit torn on this one because I could see Spurs taking all 3 points, but I'm going to go for a draw. I predict a 1-1 at Goodison. Next up, we have Man United versus Brighton. Right, I'm going to be straight with you. As a United fan, it was difficult to watch as we were dominated in parts of the game against bottom of the table Southampton last time out. All I can say is thank God for Ahmad and his hat-trick to secure us that 3-1 win. That victory marked Amorim's best run of form since taking over at United, meaning he's now unbeaten in 3 games. And hopefully we can continue with some sort of momentum until the end of the season. Probably not. Anyway, next up, we've got Brighton. Now, the Seagulls are unbeaten in their last 6 across all competitions, picking up 4 draws and 2 wins, including that 2-0 victory over Ipswich last time out. Now, despite Brighton's recent drop in form compared to the start of the season, they went winless for 8 games in the run-up to that victory over Ipswich, but they still sit in 9th place. When these two met at the Amex earlier on in the season, Brighton ran out deserved 2-1 winners. In fact, other than 1 draw and 1 United win, Brighton have won 5 of their last 7 encounters against the Red Devils. Probabilities of over 2.5 goals are okay-ish, but both teams to score is much stronger. I envisage a tough battle of a game ending in shared points. I predict a 2-2 at Old Trafford. Next up, we have Nottingham Forest versus Southampton. Unbeaten in their last 7 league games, 3rd in the table, just 7 points off top of the table Liverpool, who of course have a game in hand. If Forest can continue this form and maintain this position, I would argue that Nuno should be crowned manager of the season. No doubt Liverpool fans will have something to say about that in the comments. Talking of Liverpool, last time out, Garibaldi's earned a very well-deserved point in that 1-1 draw against the Reds. At home, they've only lost twice this season and are unbeaten in the last 4. And talking of runs of form, on the opposite end of the scale, Southampton have not won in their last 11 games and have only picked up 2 points in the process. Now, during Derby County's record-breaking season for the lowest Premier League points tally, at this point in the season, they had 7 points. Southampton have 6. Forest beat Southampton 1-0 at St Mary's the last time they played, making it 3 on the trot that the Garibaldis have beaten the Saints. And I think that's going to increase to 4 this weekend. Probability suggests we will see over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. However, I'm not so sure on that. I predict a 2-0 win to Forest. Next up, we have Ipswich versus Man City. The Tractor Boys lost 2-0 to Brighton last time out, ending their run of 2 wins and 1 draw in all comps. They sit 18th in the league with the 3rd worst scoring record, picking up just 20 goals. The only teams worse than them are Everton and Southampton. So what will happen when they welcome the citizens to Portman Road this weekend? Well, it looks like City have finally found a little bit of form, maybe winning 3 and drawing 2 of their last 5 games across all competitions. That includes that 2-2 draw with Brentford last time out. They sit in 6th place on 35 points, the same as Villa, who sit 1 place below them. Last time these two met at the Etihad earlier on in the season, City ran out 4-1 winners courtesy of a hat-trick from Haaland. And talking of Haaland, news just out over the last 24 hours suggests that he has signed a 9-year contract at the Etihad and that all release clauses have been removed from his contract. Now, probability suggests that we will see over 2.5 goals and both teams to score in this one. However, I feel that things will be marginally closer than they were last time. I predict a 2-1 win to City. Next up, we have Chelsea versus Wolves. Chelsea fans, let me know in the comments what is going on. At the beginning of December, I was getting comments that Chelsea were title challengers, and I kind of agreed with that when you looked at their form, the way they were playing, and there wasn't much difference in points at the top of the table. There was one guy who said that Chelsea were going to win the league. Absolutely delusional. But anyway, what's going on now? Chelsea are winless in their last 5 games, losing twice and picking up 3 draws, including that 2-2 against Bournemouth last time out. However, prior to those 5 games, they had won 5 on the trot. So how are they going to get on as they welcome Wolves to the bridge? Wolves manager Vitor Pereira won his first 2 games in charge, drew the next one, and then lost to Forest, and of course, lost 3-0 midweek to Newcastle. One positive is that Wolves are not currently in the relegation zone. However, one slip up and Ipswich taking advantage of a game, or Leicester taking advantage of a game, and they will be straight back in there. Now, when these two met earlier on in the season, it was not pretty for Wolves fans, and Chelsea decided to go on a rampage and win 6-2. Can I see that happening again? No. Chelsea aren't looking particularly strong this time round, but I still think they're strong enough to pick up the win. Before I go, I just want to say thank you for watching and liking and subscribing. And if you haven't done the liking and subscribing part yet, but you enjoyed the content and want to see more of it, maybe consider doing one of those 2 things. Or if you're feeling really bloody generous, you could do both. Cheers. Anyway, 2-1 or 3-1, 2-1 or 3-1. I predict a 3-1 win to Chelsea.